Okay, so for your individual activities this month, I want to give you a self-regulation individual curriculum. This is brand new to my TPT store, and I'm really jazzed about it. So let's dive in. You'll get a zip file when you download this one, and it includes quite a lot, but I want to show you the individual activities and the data collection tools. And the journals. So the individual activities, I give you 5 different activities here, so you can use them as you see fit across 5 sessions, or if you want to drag some, across maybe one of these activities you drag out across 2 sessions. You can just kind of base it on how the sessions are going and what support you think your student needs. Now, you could add some other self-regulation activities with these, or you don't have to use all of these. So again, where my groups are very prescriptive on what I think you need to do when, this, I give you the 5 activities, but you know the individual circumstances and can choose what works best when. But first up here, I have a think sheet. So this is where you can review what each color zone means. You can have the kids draw on the body there to show what their body feels like in each zone. So maybe in the red zone, maybe they have a tight clenched fist or a red face. Ask them to think about what they're thinking when they feel that way, and what they're doing, what their actions are. So this is that cognitive behavioral therapy piece, the CBT, where they can figure out, this is what I'm thinking and this is what I'm doing. Now, the choice circle. So this is kind of like a choice board. They get to choose one task from each color to complete. So I've kind of played into, multiple intelligences here. So different activities, different kids are going to prefer. So for the purple options, they can either write a poem to show about how they feel in each color zone, or they can create a playlist of songs to represent how they feel in each color zone. Then for the teal ones, they can either create a collage of photos and words, so you can cut out magazines or newspapers or do a digital collage, finding stuff on the internet. And that's going to show how they feel in each zone, or they can paint or draw to represent how their body feels in each color zone. Then for the orange ones, they get to pick to either act out how their body responds in each zone, or to talk about a time they were in each zone. So I like giving them the choices. This way, maybe they don't feel comfortable acting something out. They could just chat about it. Or maybe they love to paint or draw. Or if they're more of a music person than a poetic person, maybe they'll choose that one. So it just gives them some options, which is really fun. Now for the next activity, this is the Coping Skills Toolbox. So they have a couple things they can do here. First is just a coloring sheet. So color in the tools that they would like to try. So you can discuss all the different tools, and they can color in the ones that they're interested in trying. You could even discuss if they've tried these before with or without success. And then for the Coping Skills Toolbox activity, they're going to actually place these in a toolbox. So you can bring in like a toy toolbox. That could be fun, but you can use any kind of shoebox or something, a plastic baggie, a paper lunch bag, an envelope, anything you want to make your toolbox. They can color and decorate it, put their name on it, and then they can cut these out, and they're going to pick the ones that they like and put them in their toolbox. So this is kind of a tactical craft they can do. Or they can even cut these out and then make a tool belt from construction paper and wear it. So that's kind of a fun, silly option. And there's the other ones. And then they're going to, keeping with this Coping Skills Toolbox theme, next up you're going to cut out these different die and assemble them. And you'll see the instructions here. Basically, you're going to get different combinations, and then they're going to answer saying if this is a coping skill that worked for them the last time they were in that color zone. So, for example, if they roll a red one and then they count to 10, you will ask them, hey, have you ever counted to 10 when you were in the red zone? And they'll say yes, and you'll say, did it work or not? And they'll say, yes, it did, or no, it didn't. Or maybe they're like, no, I've never done that. Then ask them if they'd like to try it. So we're just getting them really familiar with these coping tools across the different zones here. Then for the next activity, I have a self-regulation game. So this is a board game. You're going to print out the game board, and then they're going to roll a die, and depending on what they land on, then they'll either answer these cards, or if they land on the tool, they're going to act out a coping skill. So for example, like taking deep breaths, they would act out taking deep breaths, and you can refer to those coping skills tools that you did previously. So I do recommend playing the game after you do the tools. If they land on a color dot, they're going to talk about a time they were in that color zone before, or how their body feels when they're in that color zone. So whichever one they get to choose. Again, I like giving the kids a lot of choice here. If you land on a blank space, you obviously just stay there. And then if you land on one of the people, you find the corresponding cards. So these have different scenarios. The girl pulling her hair out, it's saying you were, did not react appropriately, name a better coping skill, and then move back. But then the other person is really zenned out, and it's saying that you did choose a appropriate coping skill. Great job, move forward. So this is a fun game. You can play with the kiddo if you want to participate as well, to do some modeling. And then for the last activity, social stories. So this one's kind of like a Mad-Lib. So they're going to fill in the blank, and then I have some suggested things there. So as they fill in the blank. So for example, they're going to pick a name for the first one. So Ned's team loses the basketball game, so he feels, and then they're going to write an emotion. His body feels blank, blank, and blank. So this is their free space to write how their body feels. So he blank. So here we're asking for a strong reaction. So maybe he breaks, punches a window. His consequence for doing this is blank. Maybe he gets suspended. Next time he feels blank, you're going to write that same feeling. So next time he feels angry, he can try. And then they're going to list 3 coping skills. Again, you can refer to that toolbox, have a list of these so they can select the ones they previously learned. Now I want to show you the student journal. So there are also 5 journal prompts. So each week after they do one of the activities, they can do a journal reflection. So first up is self-regulation feeling. So again, we're getting them really familiar with these color zones. So they're going to circle the words that match that color zone. So for example, blue, in the blue zone, you're feeling sad or tired or sick or bored. So they're going to get a blue crayon or marker, color pencil, and circle those words like bored and sad. If they're in the red zone, then they're feeling angry, so they would circle that one. Green, you would circle in green, focused. Yellow, you would circle like nervous or excited. And then they're going to write if they've ever felt any of these emotions and when. For the second piece, they talk about their reactions. So they're going to draw lines to connect the reactions to the different color zones. So again, we're trying to get them familiar with the colors. So wiggle and lose some control, they would draw that one to the yellow zone. Smile, laugh, and listen carefully, they would draw those words to the green person. And then week 2, they're going to write about their triggers. So we want to start with a little definition of triggers. You can have a small discussion about triggers. And a way they can think about it simplistically is what moves you out of the green zone and causes you to feel like you're in the yellow zone or the red zone. Then they can list 3 of their triggers. For the third journal entry, we want to focus on what their body feels like. So they can draw and write on the body there. First, they can make it look like them. So maybe adding hair or, what their face looks like, what kind of clothes they like to wear. But then they can write how their body responds to triggers. So maybe when they're triggered, they clench their fist or their jaw gets tight. They could write those words or try to illustrate it there. Then for the fourth journal, they're going to talk about their coping skills. So again, they're comparing coping skills they've tried that have worked for them, that didn't work for them, and ones they want to try in the future. And for the last journal entry, it discusses their support system. So we talk about a tree of support here. Have them try to identify at least 4. These can be family members, teachers, friends, people in the community. You can always volunteer yourself to be on their tree. This one's really important that they know they can talk to these people when they need support. So now I want to show you the data collection tools that are included here. So you'll get a PDF version and some digital versions as well. So here's the self-assessment on the left. That's the print version. So the students will answer, the answer that best fits them, and remind them that they're going to take this as a pre and a post, and there are no right or wrong answers here. So to be completely honest, I'll show you the Google version in a moment. But then you also have this behavior progress monitoring form, where this one you'll send to parents and teachers. So the self-assessment goes to the student, but the behavior progress monitoring form goes to parents and teachers, and they're going to identify the behaviors of the student, how often they're exhibiting these behaviors. And again, you're going to do this before counseling sessions and after counseling sessions to get that pre and post data. And then the student rating scale. So this is the only one I don't have a digital version for. I want you to do this one in person. So they'll do this every week they come in. They'll write their name and the date, and then they'll write or circle or color in the word that best describes the color zone that they are in. Okay, so let's take a look at the digital ones. So I have here, this is the self-assessment. So the student will write their name, and then they'll just check these boxes, yes or no. Here you can see what it would look like for the student. They're going to check the boxes, yes or no. And then they'll submit the form. You, on the counselor end, can look at their responses here, and it timestamps them. So when they retake it for the post-test, you can see how their answers have changed, and you can even see the responses tab will even populate some graphs for you. Now for the behavior progress monitoring form, the parents and teachers will go ahead and write their student's name and then the rater name. So this is the name of the parent or the name of the teacher, and they'll indicate their relationship. They'll be sure to put the date so you can track it, and then which phase is this. So is this before counseling or after counseling? And then, so this is the part 1, part 2. Part 2, they're going to write about the student's behavior. So on a scale of never to almost always, they're going to rank the behavior. And again, on your end, you can look at the responses and see how things have changed since you started implementing the counseling sessions. Okay, guys, I hope you find this individual curriculum extremely helpful for your kiddos.